Srila Prabhupada made the spiritual journey of the people in Kali Yuga very easy as propounded by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu 500 plus years ago. He gave us the Maha Mantra Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada wanted everybody to chant this mantra and cross over the material ocean of this birth and death. At the time when he was preaching in New York, he had most of the disciples or followers who were Americans, and they were in a very bad state mentally. So he used to also call them white elephants. So he made them do this. It was easy for everybody to chant this mantra, and for us Indians, I think we have got a bonus. It is very, very beneficial. It is very, very powerful mantra, and I think everybody of us should chant this mantra irrespective of their spiritual journey. Hare Krishna. We in ISKCON 45 Gurgaon are celebrating Akshaya Tritiya festival on the 23rd of this month. ISKCON stands for International Society for Krishna Consciousness. It is founded by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada in 1966 in New York City. We, as in my husband, His Grace Achyuta Hari Das, and myself, Aniruddha Priya Devi Dasi, started the ISKCON chapter in the year 2000 in Gurgaon by organizing Rath Yatra festivals in the olden part of Gurgaon, primarily Sadar Bazaar area, and gradually the congregation started increasing. Several devotees came up and they were inclined towards spiritual knowledge, and they became serious devotees and eventually initiated disciples too. We have our ISKCON centers all over the globe, in India as well as abroad, even in African countries, Australia, US, Europe, everywhere. And the programs, the Mangalarti, the other festivals, the congregation programs, Sunday programs, all are conducted in the same manner and at the same time. The timings of the aartis remain the same, the timings of the Bhagavad Gita classes remain the same all over the world. This festival of Akshaya Tritiya is very important for us as well as the world at large. Every Hindu, every Indian likes to celebrate Akshaya Tritiya, which the word Akshaya means eternal, which is everlasting, which does not deteriorate or deplete in any way. So anything started on Akshaya Tritiya does not go in vain in any way. Like business, people conduct marriages, but my own son, we conducted his marriage in Jagannath Puri on Akshaya Tritiya day. So the significance of Akshaya Tritiya is of great value to all of us. People buy gold, people start new businesses, people do several things. Mother Ganges also descended on the same day. It's also celebrated as Parshuram Jayanti festival. But in ISKCON, we celebrate the start of Chandan Yatra on Akshaya Tritiya. And it goes on till for about 21 days. In all the temples of the world, of India and abroad, devotees begin making a sandalwood pulp with their hands every morning, and they dedicate themselves for about 5-6 hours every day to make huge amount of pulp, sandalwood pulp, to be applied on the Lord. And tomorrow Akshaya Tritiya is the beginning of that day when the lords are anointed with sandalwood pulp. On festival day, on Sundays or holidays, the deities are fully covered in sandalwood paste instead of their clothes, the cotton clothes or whatever that they wear. The shringar is done only by the sandalwood paste, and on top of it the flower ornaments are decorated. which is quite a wonderful sight. On rest of the days, they just apply the chandan on the forehead because it gives a cooling effect to the Lord. Now, the legend behind it, or the leela or the pastime behind it, goes back to the 14th century when Madhavendra Puri, a very exalted devotee in the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, went himself to Remuna, walking in the sun all over from Vrindavan to Orissa, to carrying sandalwood pulp for the Lord. Now, there are several incidents which I don't want to delve into at great length. The Lord himself came in his dreams a couple of times. He personally came to give milk as a cowherd boy to Madhavendra Puri, dreamed of the Lord telling him to take him out from the ground where he was buried and give him some comfort, and which the deity Madhavendra Puri installed on the top of Govardhan hill. Everybody goes to Govardhan, Shri Giriraji, and does parikrama. On top of it is the deity of Gopala, which Madhavendra Puri had installed, the same deity which was dug up in the ground. And Krishna himself told him to take him out and give him comfort. Then in another incident, he said that he's feeling very hot. He needs to be made comfortable. So Madhavendra Puri went on to get sandalwood and make a sandalwood paste so that Krishna is comforted. In the meanwhile, on his way to Remuna, he stopped by at Jagannath Puri in one of the temples of Lord Gopinath. Incidentally, our temple is also called Radha Gopinath Temple. So it's a coincidence that Madhavendra Puri stopped by at that temple. The kheer at that temple was very, very famous for its taste. Now, Madhavendra Puri had heard about it and he wanted to taste it. But at that time, the bhoga was being offered. And Madhavendra Puri, just by the thought that he should get to taste so that he can offer himself to the Lord, not for his own pleasure, but to appease the Lord. He thought, but at the same time he cursed himself, or he didn't like the idea of having to taste something which is not offered to the Lord. So in the meanwhile, while the priest was offering the small pots of kheer in the temple hall, another additional cup of kheer came. Nobody knows where. Krishna himself kept it, and then he stole it away and kept it aside, and told the Brahman, the priest, the pujari, to give that pot of kheer to Madhavendra Puri. Now, nobody would believe the priest that such a thing could have happened, but it did happen, and Madhavendra Puri was given the pot of kheer. And since then, the temple was known as Kheer Chor Gopinath. So the Gopinath was called the thief of having stolen the kheer. Now, everybody, instead of at that time, Madhavendra Puri started to gain popularity. So he wanted to just run away from there because he was away from all this name, fame, etc. So he just ran away from there. So this is also a very sweet leela which also happened on the same day. Another leela that comes to my mind is the famous, which everybody knows, the Akshaya Patra. The Pandavas, while they were in exile, Lord Krishna had given Draupadi a pot which would generate as much food as was needed. Like anybody or any amount of food could be produced, but the last person to eat was to be Draupadi. And the condition was that after Draupadi is eaten, the container would not generate any food or any prasadam. So Duryodhana was always trying to have a conspiracy or somehow, try to trouble the Pandavas. So he instigated sage Durvasa Muni to go and meet them in the forest. Durvasa Muni had a habit of cursing, and there are many stories in Bhagavatam, which narrate the wrath of Durvasa Muni. Although he was also a very exalted devotee, but he was full of anger and he would curse somebody without any relevance. So, in order to gain pleasure, Duryodhan sent him to meet the Pandavas at a time when he understood that they would have eaten their food, their meal. So, Durvasa Muni normally went along with 10,000 disciples at one time. So they all went and reached the hut of the Pandavas. So Draupadi and the Pandavas were very, very troubled and they thought of Krishna. Now suddenly the thought of taking a bath, normally the sages especially, they take a bath before having the prasadam because it generates the Agni in the stomach properly. So they all went to the Ganges to take bath, Durvasa Muni and his 10,000 disciples. So in the meanwhile, Lord Krishna comes to Draupadi and says that I am very hungry, please give me some food. Draupadi was jiffy or whatever, how would they feed 10,000 people? Draupadi told Krishna that there is nothing that I have, I cannot offer you anything. So Krishna forces her to go and fetch that patra. That patra contained a tiny grain of rice in it. So that tiny grain of rice Krishna consumed, and the same moment Durvasa Muni and the sages started feeling that their stomachs are absolutely full and they started belching, and they came and they thanked Pandavas and Draupadi and they left, giving them blessings and good wishes. So this is another pastime that happened on the very same day. So we remember all these, try to worship the Lord by telling them to give us that kind of eternal, blissful love to engage us in His service. So in ISKCON on the 23rd of this month, we are going to celebrate this festival, a wonderful kirtan performed by our devotees, and all are welcome to come and join and also contribute some amount of Lakshmi for the pleasure of the Lord, because anything donated is always grows. Like for example, that small tiny grain that Krishna consumed in the house of Draupadi, 10,000 disciples and Durvasa Muni themselves got satiated by that small favor. So if you donate on this day, it will be of great importance and value to all the families will be blessed. This temple of Sector 45 has come up, as you can all see, the contribution of most of the GURUGRAM devotees or non-devotees or businessmen or the shopkeepers. They all have contributed in their own little way, and this you can see that this temple has come up beautifully, and I am sure it's going to come up wonderfully in coming years with the contribution that we get from you all. So the contribution given on Akshaya Tritiya will also remain eternal and give eternal benefit to all of you, and I humbly request all of you to come and give generously to our cause. In ISKCON have a program called Food for Life. Srila Prabhupada, the story goes back to the 70s or the late 60s, when in the Juhu temple, Shri Radha Ras Bihari temple, Prabhupada saw some children eating from the garbage, and he immediately declared that any ISKCON temple will not go without feeding Khichdi Prasadam within the radius of 10 kilometers. So ever since then, our ISKCON centers distribute Khichdi Prasadam to everybody. So Food for Life is another medium in which you can donate to us. It is distributed to one and all. In fact, the Akshaya Tritiya Kirtan Mela timings are from 5 to 9 p.m. in the evening. So come one, come all. I request you humbly to join us in this endeavor. Thank you.